If I have solar, why do I even need a converter? Well, because there's a lot of stuff in the trailer that's running off of DC power. A solar system update. I got the app installed, and the guy that sold me the system, there's two connections on the solar controller that aren't used that say load, and I don't know how that would plug into the system. It plugs into the system somehow, and then I would be able to get even more information on how much the trailer was pulling, how much energy the trailer was actually using. I'm not getting that right now because I didn't hook up the load line, because he said don't worry about it. And he said don't worry about it because I'm a rookie, amateur. So I turned on these LED lights on the front of the trailer last night just because I knew they were DC powered, and I knew that they would just be running the battery all night. And I was right. And those, and then whatever else little stuff ran the batteries down. When I woke up at right when the sun started to come up, it's like 6 or something, 6:30. I checked the thing and it wasn't getting any input, and it was down to 9%. And then I rolled over and went back to sleep for like an hour at 7 or something like that. I woke up, started petting the cats, and looked again. It was down to 4%. And it actually got down to 0, but the gauge through the Bluetooth connection that I was looking at, that isn't that specific. So it might not have actually been to 0, but I wanted to run it down. I didn't think I'd be able to run them down all the way overnight. That just lets me know that there's quite a bit of little that's in there just grabbing that DC power all the time. So leaving those other lights on all night, even though they were LED, tapped the power down to nothing. So I really want to get that load line wired in so I can see what the load is. And I need to put a converter in as well for lithium batteries, because now I understand. Like literally, I commented on a RV channel I watch all the time. I'm subscribed to, that I should totally know the name. I'm like, gee, if I have solar, why do I even need a converter? Well, because there's a lot of stuff in the trailer that's running off of DC power. If you're not constantly pushing juice to those batteries, they'll be... But I actually have no idea how to wire that in. The reason why I haven't shot anything in a couple days is tied together. I'm sitting there on Sunday trying to have a day off, relaxing day off after weeks of just busting ass. I'm sitting there, it's about 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I've been, I got the solar app on my phone. I'm looking at it, seeing what it's doing, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's weird. It has a cooling fan. I'd heard it the day before. Why isn't the cooling fan on? Why is this thing boiling hot and the fan not on? Well, I don't know, but it basically burned out its own ability to pass through AC power. Everything starts clicking on and off, on and off. The AC's going on and off, on and off. About 20 minutes after I feel this thing and find out it's boiling hot, all of a sudden it starts going. And, it clicked on, off, on and off, on, off, and then all of a sudden it's like just none of the computer stuff was on, but the AC was running. And I'm just like, what the f was that all about? I'm thinking maybe there was a power outage to the park or something. I don't know. Well, no, it was the inverter out on itself, not being able to pass through the AC power anymore. designed that thing's an idiot, because why the does it have to do anything to that power? Why doesn't it just pass it through? Why does it gotta heat itself up? A circuit breaker doesn't get boiling hot. No. And it's passing through 1,000 times more power than this thing was. So the AC is running off the solar power. It's like, holy, you know, so basically it was like I had to take the inverter out of the loop. So basically those batteries are just like, they're being charged currently to run what a normal one battery would run off of a normal RV system. It was tapped so far down that it used so much of its power to do that couple minutes of AC before I knew what the was going on. It couldn't get charged back up enough, and then when I woke up the next morning, the batteries were at 0 and at 9 volts. They're supposed to be at 12.8 volts and not 0. I don't even know how low they're supposed to be at maximum. I think 10% or maybe, or 20, you know. So it's just all bad. So I was super conservative with it the next day and the night, and I went to bed, it was at 95%. And when I woke up, it was at 100%. Literally as soon as the sun hit it. So I don't think I damaged the batteries at all. They probably can tolerate. And you know, back in the day with the nickel cadmium, I think it was, NiCad batteries, you had this whole thing where you wanted to like set it by discharging it way down and charging it way up. You were setting your batteries functional parameters. If you just did it partially and then did it partially, you'd lock it into that charge rate in those old batteries. And that's just always kind of stuck with me because I'm a fucking battery fanatic. I have an excellent success rate on batteries through my life. Like, I really am good at batteries. So anyway, running those batteries all the way down like that once, and then charging them way up and keeping them charged all the way up for a whole nother day, like, I don't know, I mean, I'm not an expert in batteries, I'm good at batteries, but I would say that A, I didn't hurt the batteries, and B, it's quite possible those batteries might have a better functional range than I did that. I could be wrong. I mean, this is lithium iron. It was another hot, sweaty day and stressful, and so basically what I'm going to do now, the inverter, the only thing it doesn't do is pass through AC power, which who really cares? I don't care. Like, I have a job for it, and that's running my computer system and then running the trailer. So it's like I got two batteries. I got the one battery that would normally run a trailer, and then I got an extra battery that runs my need to run all the time. So the thing that I need to add is I need to add a lithium ion charger into, so that will come off of shore power. So when I'm plugged into shore power, my batteries will always be getting charged regardless whether they're solar or not. So like basically that'll like take the solar out of the mix when I'm plugged in. The solar comes in when I'm like traveling or off grid, which I just got a property. I bought a property today. I'll have a place to be off grid. Although I've got this whole product I gotta do now, and that is gonna, I can't be off grid and develop a product. That just won't work. So I'm literally renting a storage unit in Portland to do this whole product development, and then hopefully that will give me the money I need to build my entrepreneurship house I want to build out here. So anyway, Back to the solar. So the way I'm going to hook it up is I got to put in another breaker, so I'll have my shore power come in, and it goes off and does everything that it does, but then I'll break into it and run it over to another breaker. Then on the other side of that breaker, I'll put my lithium-ion charger. And I'm not quite sure how you have two chargers on one battery. Because in essence, the way my batteries are set up is one battery. So, I don't know how that works. That's the one wiring diagram that I don't understand at this moment. I'll figure it out. I'll call somebody, but I got all these parts to buy and all this wire to run, so I got to do all that first. I'll get all this done. So then what I'm doing is I'm going to take the power from the inverter and I'm going to run it down to a new plug that I'm going to install out on the slide. So there's power going out to the slide right now for the lights in DC power form, but I'm going to run some AC power out there, give myself a plug, because currently I'm doing all that with extension cords, right? So I'm going to run a decent amount of power, so then I'll have a one plug out on the slide that will be running off of the batteries. So those batteries will be charged by when I'm plugged in. It'll be like they're just normally plugged in. The only problem is that inverter was spitting out like low voltage. And low voltage is bad for electronic equipment because it has to use higher amps and that runs hotter. And when I was having all these problems with my trailer, when I first got it down to California, I was running off of freaking just a regular old house plug. There was a wire nut that had been arcing and could have caused a fire in the trailer, and I'm pretty sure that whole situation was from the amount of power that was being pulled through that connection where they were kind of double bumping off one breaker. So they had the converter and this set of plugs all going through one breaker. And that set of plugs is the plugs that, I should actually wire in two breakers. It comes out of the inverter, it goes into a breaker, and then it goes off to wherever I need it. So I'm going to have a one plug down there on the slide, which is going to be tricky because the wires have to like do this whole slide thing, right? So that's going to be fun. And then I'm going to mount another plug outside underneath, like where all this power stuff's already coming in and going anyway. I'm going to mount a plug, an indoor-outdoor plug right there that I can plug into and get power to run power tools or whatever I need to run right there from the solar off those batteries. Because like in the middle of the day, that solar panel is creating enough juice to power my welder. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, it ran the air conditioner. He even got it started. So, yeah. Small AC breaker box continues. But I was gonna get two, and now I think I can get it done with one. It's funny, I had no concept of how all this stuff works, and now I have the design in my head, and I can rewire and wire and totally go through the whole system in my head now and decide how things are gonna go, where things are gonna go. I'm adding a redundant, I mean, the trailer plugs into a breaker box. So you turn on a breaker to give the trailer power. So there's one breaker. Then the power goes into the trailer, into another breaker. I'm tapping into that power before that breaker. So I'm putting a breaker in that another breaker, so I'll have to separate the power before the other power, because I want to grab 15 amps to send it up to the place where I have all the power to run this converter that I just bought. To be able to separate power and send it off into another place, I have to put a breaker in line first. So that means it'll come in, it'll have a breaker from the post, it'll come into the trailer, it hit another breaker immediately, and then it'll be separated off. Part of the 15 amps of the power will go off to run the converter, and then the rest of the power will go over to the panel to run everything like normal. And then I'll have power coming back down that's been off the inverter that'll come down and run those two plugs that I was talking about. But these two breakers, this whole design has been difficult because I've been kind of moving it around, and like there was going to be two at one point, but now I think I can get away with one breaker box that holds two breakers in one place, and I'm good. I just have to run one piece of wire to that, mount the inverter, mount the wire, wire it in. That's going to be a little more than just that, but and then add those plugs, run the wire for those plugs, and hopefully nothing goes on.